I know it's been quite a few months since we did a video, and that's because we had the rear suspension on order from Maximum Motorsports, and it took 6 months to get it here. So today I'm going to unpack the box that we got and start putting the rear end back together. This first cardboard box, that's the frame connectors. I'm not going to open that. That's the big box we got right there. The rear end is completely done, ready to go. And my 373 gears in there. The 31 spline axles. She's all ready to go. We're going to open up this box and see what we got. It took us 6 months to ship this out. Hopefully everything's in here. It's probably going to take me a few days to actually put this together because I'm not going to hurry on it. Lower control arms, looks like. We got the extreme heavy duty ones. Eventually we'll go with the a different sway bar. But for now we're gonna use the stock one, so I got the lower control arms so I have the sway bar. Coil over. This is just the adjustment. Mounting bracket. not going to weld the frame connector until this is in, so I guess I can wait for that still. Ready to put this rear end in. I believe they're 3/8 inch holes. But first thing you have to do is scrape off some of this joint compound here. And then you're gonna mark it with a red pen. Probably use a hole punch just to get it started, and drill out with the 8-inch or 3/8 drill. That's what it's gonna look like when it's done. As you can see, I scraped this out a little bit so it could run flat. Drilled the holes, and I found it easier to drill a pilot hole from the top, and then with the 3/8 drill bit from the bottom coming up, it's a lot easier because there's not much clearance to the top of this rear deck lid. As you can see here, once you have the first hole drilled, it's easier if you put a screwdriver or a bolt or something in the hole. That way it keeps the bracket in place for the next hole. day 2 of the install of the rear installation. Day 1, I'm not sure how much video I got because the camera shut off halfway through. That was pretty much just unboxing, so that's boring anyways. But so we're gonna start day 2 and see if we get some of this finished here. Since I don't know how much actually recorded the other day, we'll just go through this again. Basically going to be the full Maximum Motorsports rear end suspension. Has the extreme duty control arms. Gonna have the panhard bar, and it's gonna have coilovers right there. The reason I didn't go with the Watts link like I have on the KR because I actually put the gears out of the KR, original gears, 373s, and the differential cover is actually off my KR, and it won't fit with the Watts link. And I don't need to go buy a bunch of extra parts just for a Watts link. Keep it kind of simple here. I'm basically just gonna mock this up, make sure it's all level, and then I'll start installing this panhard bar. Panhard bar and Watts link are basically the same thing. It keeps the rear end center, helps you do corners like you're on rails. I got Watts link on my KR. I don't know how much you can see it here. There you go. That's a Watts link. You check the bushings on it, it's feeling a little loose. It's been on there probably about 5 years. But that's on the KR, and we're going to do panhard bar on the 94 here. Most of this video is probably going to be time lapse because I have to listen to music when I'm working on cars, and you can't play music on YouTube except for the terrible YouTube music. So we'll get started. Again, it's best to read instructions, but that takes away half the fun of working on cars. For the lower control arm, this is the new original size lower control arm bolt, but it comes with a newer, longer one. The reason for that is because on the driver's side you have this bracket, bolts on the lower control arm bolt, and the bolt for the rear shock. So this new bracket is going to hold the rear shock, and it's going to hold the panhandle bar right here. So you have the new longer control arm bolt, and this bolt right here to actually hold the bracket on. Instructions say that mount the bracket, install the 1/2 inch bolt in place of the original stock mounting bracket with the washer and nut on the back side. Do not put the washer under the bolt head. Interference with the shock will occur. So, the back side of the bracket or the back side of the car? Anyone have any ideas? Well, we'll go this way because I think it'll be closer or tighter clearance, so there's for sure no way it's going to interfere with the shock. And again, I'm not going to torque any of these down because you're going to have to really adjust the rear end once you get before you drill the holes for the panhard bar. Alright, so it's the next day, and I've spent about 3 hours trying to set up this panhard bar bracket, and you really need about 3 sets of hands to do it, and as you can see, my son has lost interest already. But I'm sure he'll be back once this thing is running again. So I spent about 3 hours setting up this the rear end and the bracket to be as close as perfect as possible. I know once I start drilling, it's gonna be off a little bit. So the first thing you gotta do is make sure that these lower control arms are flush with the ground. So I got them as level as possible. Both sides. And then just to be extra cautious, I also made sure that that was level, even though you don't have to do that. And you also have to make sure that it is level this way as well. And to do that by myself, you can see I had to get a little creative. I have the rear end on jacks with a towel just to get the exact right clearance on both sides. And to hold up the bracket, again, it's on jacks with either cardboard or 2x4s. And that right there to hold at the front, I'm really proud of that one. That's ingenious. But you gotta do what you gotta do if you're doing this by yourself, because it is a pain in the butt. Alright, so we'll start with where the brackets meet the frame. Sorry if the camera's going crazy. Alright, so this measurement right here isn't in the instructions, but I did it anyways, just to double check everything. And every time you make a little bit of adjustment, this thing moves big time. So that's a little over 1.5 inches. And as you can see, the bottom of the bracket is flush with the frame. Actually, that looks like it go up a little bit, yeah. Yeah. So that's why it's not flush with the frame right now. I have to mess with my jack. So this is usually about 1.5 inches. If I put it up flush with the bottom of the frame, it would be there again, but I can't do that with, I'm already using both my hands. So but this will, let me just do that. Been working past few hours on this anyways, might as well just do it right. This is why you really need someone to help you. Alright, so now it's flush, both front and back. That measurement is 1.5 inches. Again, that measurement is not in the instructions, but I did it anyways. The next side, as you can see, this bracket is flush with the bottom of the frame on both sides. This measurement should be 1.5 inches, which is pretty darn close, good enough for me. Now, as you can see, the side of this bracket, there's lots of space in between the frame and the side of this bracket. No problem. It came with several spacers, so we'll be able to hook that up. The instructions say try to use a C-clamp to hold that bracket onto your frame. I tried that. I could not get it to work. And I didn't want to start pushing this frame in and doing it by myself. I found it much easier just to use these jack stands and cardboard and 2x4s. But if you had a second set of hands, you could probably use those C-clamps, because if you're doing it by yourself, once you make an adjustment on one side, it completely screws up the entire other side. Alright, so now we'll go to the measurements that are in the instructions and are pretty important. The instructions tell you to get a plumb line. You're going to tie it around the axle tube, and it's going to be hanging from the rear of the tube. You don't want it hanging down here, because there's a chance that where it's hanging on this side is going to be different from where it's hanging on that side. So if you make sure it's hanging from the rear, both sides should be exactly the same. If you've made everything level like you're supposed to do in the instructions, which we have done. Now you're going to take a measurement from this plumb line to the inside of this bracket. And that is 4 3/4. For this other side, again, you're going to do the same thing. You set up a plumb line on the axle tube with the hanging down from the rear of the tube. And then you're going to measure from the rear of this bracket right here. I put this little extension on so I can measure easy. So it's going to be this side of this bracket. And that measurement is 4 3/8. 1, 2, 3/8. Yep. Now the instructions say that the difference between the driver and passenger side should be between 1/4 and 5/8. So we're perfect. So I can start drilling. But I know once I start drilling, this whole thing's going to move around like crazy. Again, that's why it's nice to have two people. But I did find a problem with my rear end. This differential cover is from my KR, and it is just a little bit too beefy for this car. And if I want to lower this in the future, which I really plan on doing, gotta get that stance, you know. I'm either gonna have to cut off 1/4 inch right here, which I could probably do and still keep it much stronger than the original one, or I could bend this or beat this sheet metal back a little bit. This is where the spare tire sits. I highly doubt I'll ever have a spare tire in there. Probably a cooler box for my intercooler, so there'll still be plenty of room. But so I'll probably do both. I'll cut this down and I'll beat this back a little bit. And then we'll just go over, as you can see, once you get this thing lined up, there's plenty of clearance everywhere even with this beefed up differential cover. This bracket's not hitting anything on the car except for where it mounts on the frame. Looks like there's going to be plenty of room. Let's get a better angle. Looks like there's going to be plenty of room between the axle tube and this bracket here. Could even go lower, probably about 1 inch, which would be extremely low. The only thing that I'm concerned about is I don't see how the stock exhaust is ever going to go back in this car. Because I remember reading somewhere where stock exhaust you could still use. But I don't see how it's going to go over this rear end and down in between the gas tank. I mean, there is some space, but I just don't see how there's going to be enough. So we'll definitely have to figure something else out for the exhaust, which is terrible because the dual pipes sticking out of the rear Mustang, that's the look. So maybe we'll have to do some side pipes or something. I don't know, but I guess we'll start drilling. Started a little bit, so I am sure that that hole is completely centered. I'm going to move to a smaller drill bit just to get it in the hole all the way through, and then come back with the larger ones again. Step up, do like the 1/8 up to the 3/8. Looks like there's someone here. I'll be right back. So I had the two outer holes drilled on the passenger side, and I was saying that I was drilling with a 5/8, which was incorrect. The biggest I was going was 3/8, and the reason for that is once you get the outer holes drilled, you place this bracket inside the frame rail, and the outside of this bracket is actually 5/8. So I will have to remove the bracket that's connected to the frame rail, drill out those two holes with 5/8, put these brackets in. So, and the inside of these holes are actually 3/8. So once I get the driver's side drilled out, I'm going to put these brackets in. You have to cut them down to the right length. This helps prevent your frame from being crushed when you tighten it down. And then I will drill the other side of the frame rail through these holes with the 3/8, and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to do the same thing I just did on the driver's side, and then we'll put these brackets in.
Dad,
What?
what was that like really loud noise?
I'm drilling.
Can I pop the normal camera to show my crew?
No. All right, so we drilled the two holes, 3/8, removed the bracket, and now I have to drill it to 5/8. Problem is it doesn't fit my drill. I don't really want to go buy a new one or a new drill bit, so we're going to try something else. I'm going to try the Dremel tool. So I put this bracket up. I got the two 3/8 drills in there, drill bits, so this isn't going to work. I'm trying to mark how big this hole needs to be. This red pen. But I don't think it's gonna work. Well, it worked on the first one, not the second one. a lot of material for a Dremel tool. I just might have to go buy a new drill or a drill bit. Dang it. After you cut this bracket, the depth may be a little bit different. So you could either mark it front or back, left or right, or with the 94 Mustang, there's nice little holes in the frame where you can stick your finger up there and make sure that the back of the bracket is actually in contact with the frame. Alright, ooh, I just got WD-40 all over my GoPro. That's great. Alright, we got the first holes drilled on the passenger side. Let's see how it came out. Not too bad. Now it's time for the driver's side. So I've one side drilled out. This one isn't done yet. These are just hanging in there. Still have to drill this side. This side is drilled, but these are just finger tight right here. But this brace is already rock solid. It is not moving, which is a good sign. Drill this other side, and this brace should be done. The rear suspension is in. My GoPro ran out of power, so I wasn't able to record the end of it, but I was basically just torquing down the bolts. So it's in. Now all I have to do is install the frame rails, and then the last part is the suspension.